big one. I'm learning so much from you. But you right. Ain't it true? Like these people mixed with the Neanderthal blood, like you can only be 100% African. And mind you, we spread it all across the world. They done, when they colonized and, got rid of Egypt and stuff, they done spread us all across the world. Hey, let me know on that. Ain't they mixed with the Neanderthal blood? Like that's why they like so ravenous and all of that. Like
Yeah, they're
that's why they
rabid.
like
My bad. Go ahead.
no. Go ahead.
Yeah, gratitude for saying that. I'm glad you are learning a lot. Yeah, they do have Neanderthal DNA a lot. They share different percentages with Neanderthals because they have incomplete dominant DNA. So they don't pass down the same percentages of the animals that they're composed of because all of the alleles are alleles, they're recessive. So they don't, it's not just Neanderthals, it's cats, dogs, chickens, mice, rats, fruit flies, potatoes, celery, kale, cauliflower, all the cruciferous vegetables, carrots, all these things that I just named are eukaryotic. Collard greens and kale were created the same way that these people were. So that's the reason why they feed you these things. That's the reason why they feed you cows. That's why the reason why they feed people in other countries are people bushmeat because they share DNA with these animals. And again, when we begin to eat like them, it taints and it distorts the cell and it causes us to think or go into a state of psychosis, not being able to understand what's true and what's not. I got you with that, CDOS. Go ahead, Paleo.
Yeah, so basically, I'm still waiting on the DOI for the paper that you said you had that substantiated the fact that not our people have 40% Neanderthal DNA.
Are you coming up talking about this one source from like an hour and a half ago? Can you explain to me how haploids turn into diploid cells, bro? Like you don't really
No,
need a
that's
scientist.
pivoting.
This is fifth grade science. I'm gonna keep it a buck. You should be able to tell me
Okay,
how haploids turn
so
into diploid cells if you understand the evolution theory. You should be able to
yeah,
give me
sure,
a premise on
meiosis.
that.
So can you
It's
substantiate
not
your claim?
meiosis and mitosis because that's only the case for eukaryotes. So how did the eukaryotic cell
Okay,
get here?
so I've yet to receive the paper that you said
All right, and
substantiate
you've
what
been in
you're
the
saying.
comments crying to ask me that question for an hour when me and my other half already answered that shit to you. Gene expression. That's what I be talking about. All right, go ahead, Gold J.
I appreciate you letting me up, Queen. I don't understand why it's so hard for them to realize that their DNA is spliced and like they were created in labs and everything else. Is if you actually just try to look at any type of research or anything besides what America teach you in school and stuff like that, you will know that the world is way different than what they've told us. Like there is a such thing as people being mixed with animals. There's a such thing as clones. They show us in movies all of the time. And actually, to tell you the truth, two women that I have actually, like, I was dating for a couple of years before I start, waking up and learning this stuff. I was living in South Dakota and I was actually dating some Siberian women, quote unquote, Native Americans, Siberians. And, they actually had scars right above their butt, like where it was like 2 inch mark scars. And I asked both of them, I said, where'd you get that from? And this is before I started becoming woke. And they were like, oh, I don't know. Like, I was like, do you remember having surgery or anything? Like you have a 2 inch scar right above your butt. And both of them couldn't tell me where it came from, what, like, anything. Like they didn't even know it was there. So I take a picture, like we were having smacks, and I would take a picture and be like, look, and they had scars and couldn't tell me like, oh no, I had a surgery. I remember having a surgery. My mom told me about a surgery, like can't tell me anything. So that's like, since I've been starting to do my research and then I look back, I'm like, wow, that's crazy. Like there's actually humans that splice DNA. Some of them do grow tails. They cut the tail off so we won't be able to tell that they're not the same as us and that they don't have 100% DNA. But yeah, it's kind of crazy. I don't know. I've been doing a lot of researching and I just came across your panel right now, literally just strolling, and I saw what you were talking about, and you are so smart and magnificent. Keep up your good work. Everybody that wants to learn will learn. The people that don't want to learn, they'll just come and try to say you're wrong, but you're doing a good job, and that's all I wanted to say.
Greetings, my brother, and gratitude for that. I really appreciate that, and I advise you to keep learning about your DNA. Now, yeah, when you lay down and procreate with these people, even when they procreate with themselves, there's something that is invoked, zoonotic diseases that are invoked on the biological level. So I know you know yourself now and you would never do that. But when you were procreating with these women, you were thinning out your blood with ischemia because that get invoked with them when we do it because of genetic incompatibility. Zoonotic diseases get invoked. Hemolytic diseases get invoked. And that is the reason for why the ROGAM shot was created in the 60s, because when we first came in contact with them, we were genetically so incompatible that our women was just dropping like flies. 2 continents plus others were just wiped out with venereal disease. So we began to lose rhythm. Our skin, it doesn't change like biochemical composition, but it does lose luminosity. I've seen it happen even with my own family members. My cousin that's been married to a YT lady for like 5 to 10 years now, he doesn't act the same. He doesn't talk the same. He doesn't joke the same. You can tell that there's something going on with his psychological state. His health has gone down like exponentially. And 1 year after being with that woman, he looked like he had like going through some type of PTSD, some type of trauma, right? So we got to stop procreating with these people because they're a different species and they're a conglomeration of not just animals, but unnatural insects, unnatural microorganisms, unnatural plants, and then we get to the animals that they share different percentages with. So even when they lay down with each other, a lot of them have to get blood tests first because of incomplete dominance. The YT mother can have 40% DNA shared with rats, while the man she's laying down with shares 50% with dogs. So that's the weirdest thing that I'm trying to get these people to understand. How can you share 80% with a platypus and 90% with a chimpanzee? 80% and 90% when we're talking about a 25 to 30,000 genes within their genome. How can you be 80 and 90%? That's why we talk about incomplete dominance. They're not 100% of anything. You're not 100% of a so-called human. That means animal man, right? And it's not just animals. So we got to start understanding that we not, you know what I'm saying, the same as these people. So we got to stop breathing around these people, socializing with these people, getting taught by these people, getting medically, psychologically evaluated by these people. We have to stop socializing ourselves and keep our children away from them because their genetics is becoming erratic. They're eating rodent unalivings off of the street. These people are bathing in the sea because the water is drying up for them. You see what I'm saying? They're resulting back under a theory that's not really, talked about because they can't really prove it. And it's because of incomplete dominance. But you hear people talk about de-evolution. There's no way for them to completely de-evolve into anything because they have multiple origins in which their genetics stem from. So you'll see an Asian lady that, later in her lifetime, she'll start producing subcutaneous horns, right? You'll see YT men or the women you're talking about. You can see where they had the vestigial tail. And I'm pretty sure connected to those vestigial tails that you've seen, you also seen lumbar hypertrichosis, the werewolf syndrome around the lower portion of their back. Because that's very heavily associated with the tails we're talking about. Gratitude for sharing that, and thank you for your kind words. Paleo, I don't know why you keep requesting up and you can't answer my question. All right. So in a minute, I'm going to block you. Come up here and answer my question or you can get blocked because now you're starting to become a nuisance. All right. I can't see y'all when y'all request in the bottom box. All right. So whoever that just came up, go ahead. I can't see your name.
Yeah, sorry about that.
You're okay.
It's Curtis. Okay. I had 2 questions for you. I'm going to make it quick. Is that cool?
Sure.
All right. First question is that U cell that you keep talking about. I can't pronounce it, but I know it starts with a U.
I'm going to type it for you because it starts with a E. I put it in the chat for you.
Okay. Wow. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to know what it is and where it comes from.
All right, the eukaryotic cell, it translates the meaning of it, true seeded nucleus. The two cellular form types that exist on this planet are prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Prokaryote, that means before nucleus. These are cells that don't have a nucleus, but they have a nucleoid region. So when it comes to the eukaryotic cell, its origin is genetic engineering, specifically introgression, which is done through mediums of hybridization. So I'm going to type those words out for you because I know you might need them. Introgression, hybridization, which is done through repeated backcrossing, which is how you create the DNA sequence.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely tracking.
Got you.
Was you ready for my next question?
Sure.
Okay. Have you ever heard of the big head scientist?
Yep. Yakub is a Hebrew story. Yep.
I'm thinking he has something to do with what you're talking about the evolution. About the scientific engineering of YT people.
Yeah. Remember, this isn't just about YT people. This is about everybody outside of us, which includes so-called Asians, so-called Dravidians, and then last in their genus, we get to the YT man. Even everybody else outside of us would be a byproduct of mixing when we look at their cells and the origin in which all the cells in their body would have came from. So Yakub is a Hebrew story, and in Hebrew, Yakub translates to subplanted. So that cell that you were talking about, yeah, let me type it out for you. Subplanter. That's what Yakub means in Hebrew.
Nice.
And what is this Yakub story is the same thing as Gilgamesh and Gilgamesh, Enki and Enlil, Moloch, the Dragon King, Pindar, which is what I want our people to focus on more than Yakub, or God, or Zeus. The same thing that we see in Greek mythology is the same thing in the story that you're talking about. So
you're talking about the Hebrew Bible, right?
Yeah, the Hebrew translation of Yakub means subplanter, so that eukaryotic cell, true seeded nucleus, just is basically explaining someone subplanted or seeded the eukaryotic cell here. So the origin of that is introgression and genetic engineering. Another thing that I'll give you to study is the Sumerian text and the Sumers, because this is the oldest text known to so-called man. And they have the entity depicted there with like an eagle-like head, a fish body. Ishgod is another one. Ishgod is another one I would advise you to study. It's the same story of an entity on the planet splicing. So it doesn't mean that it's a black man splicing, because that's never what the word Yakub meant. It just means that someone understood genetics enough to splice and to take it back, or to link it to in vitro, which means in glass or a petri dish. So,
Right.
yeah.
So do you believe that? Do you believe that?
What'd you say, Gold?
Scott, I just wanted to ask you a question quick. So do you believe that? So do you believe that, like the Earth, when we first started off, it was all black people or brown copper tone people and stuff like that? Or do you believe like when we got here, the white people got here at the same time?
Nah, we were all here across the entire universe. Our genetics doesn't even just link to this planet, but to all the planets, because of what we're composed of down to an atomic and subatomic level. We're made of atoms. Atoms vibrating at the proper speed will then turn into cells. And again, the YT people, they were spliced and created on this planet where their DNA only stretches back 6,000 to 7,000 years. So there's an entity that's not black, that's not YT, that's not so-called Asian, but it is an entity, right? And that's what I was talking about, that's depicted in all these stories and in the Sumerian texts, showing themselves splicing and creating the eukaryotic cell.
Can I ask you something? Are you saying that cells could evolve back into atoms if they vibrate back at that level?
They do. They never stop really being atoms, because this is the building blocks of life. So you're basically built off of atoms. When it comes to the morphic resonance that I'm talking about, that surrounds our bodies and surrounds our cells, that is that. That is that. Those are atoms. Those are photons, protons, and electrons.
Right.
Divine
15 on
masculine
the
and feminine
valence
energy.
scale. Okay.
All right, let me introduce the next guest here.
Okay.
Let me see.
Thanks for
Uh,
your time.
for sure. I'm gonna make some room, y'all. K-Search. You don't have to leave the live. You can just come back. I just gotta make some room. Rage Grinch, same thing for you, my brother. Gratitude for coming up. You can come back up in a second. I just gotta make room for the next guest. I'm finna just get everybody up here that is in the request, and we'll just have a big conversation. Let's see. All right, so some of the people actually dipped. So if you were just up here and you still want to be in the conversation, I got 2 boxes left. Please don't click the bottom box because I can't see it. Let's see. Who is this? Solara Noet. Did you mean to request up?
Yes, I did. How you doing, beloved?
Greetings. Welcome in. How do you feel about the topic?
I feel like you are on the most accurate point and you have the scientific terminology to back it up.
Gratitude. You believe that evolution is the biggest lie ever told? Are you able to articulate it, or you just do you have any thoughts about it, or is that just what you wanted to say?
So I have memory of how this all happened to begin with, how these lies were told and why they were told. If you don't mind me expressing that memory.
Sure.
So before we came into this state of being that we are now, we were giants. We were actually 50 to 100 feet tall. The planet was on a high vibration. We breathed in hydrogen instead of oxygen. This is what made us be as big as we were. In that time, well, not time, because time didn't exist at that point, but in that era of being, we were all creators. We were all creating our own world, our own things from our own reality, from our own soul. So how do we get to this point? We had a brother, an individual, a soul who was the first masculine energy that was created. His name is Zeus. He goes by, this is his cosmic name, Zeus. He became jealous of so-called us, as in our own people. He became jealous of himself, basically, and decided to create his own species to go against us. When we got this wind of this news, he was using our creations, basically animals, because we created the animals. He was using our animals to create his science project, which is the human beings. So when we got into this, or let's say this, when we got into a fight with him, we ended up removing him or kicking him off this realm. This realm was the last realm we created. This planet herself, Tiamat, she's a baby. This is the last planet we created as a species. So when she was invaded, because this was the last planet, so we was working her boundaries up. We was getting her energy right, so she'll be able to, sustain her own without having us be here or whatever. So he knew this as being the ones that helped us create it. So when we kicked him off the planet, we sent him to his own. He went and created his own planet, which was in the 6th universe. That planet was called Nern. On Nern, they have 2 moons. They don't have a sun. So this is why the human beings today, what we call white people, Asians, Dravidians, Mexicans, and Arabs, they can withstand being in the cold without even having. They could be outside in the cold with shorts, tank top. It ain't nothing to them, but they burn in the sun. Why? Because they have melanin. They do not have neuromelanin to be able to absorb the sun. Any neuromelanated person you see that is carbon in their skin or ether coming out their scalp, we are the ones that created the sun. So we give life to the sun as the sun gives life to us. So back to the story, excuse me. They were created from his intent, from his will. So this is why they carry that negative energy. Like, they just look at us with disgust and envy and jealousy, even though they love us. They hate us and love us at the same time. Crazy combination. Shout out Divine Insight. Zeus is a soul. He was the first one. He was the first masculine energy that the feminine energy created. So when we kicked him out of this planet, he had a lot of love. He had a lot of beings loved him. So they left with him. They wasn't able to stay with him because they was on that bullshit too. So we exiled them off this realm. This is where you get the story from Satan falling out of heaven with God and etc. All that shit. So with him leaving the realm, he brought all those souls with him, and this is where you get Zeus and Zeus and his army of fallen angels. So when they came back to this realm, they came back to this realm with the human beings. I'm not going to go into full detail because it's whatever. But this planet was invaded. Now, with the planet being invaded, you're like, how can we be invaded? We were so intelligent, so smart, and that creative ability because we have sympathy. We have love for all creation because we created everything as we are the creators. So we gave the human beings melanin because before they came to us, they were in an ape-like state. This is where you get the Planet of the Apes from, and they show you to it in the movies, and they show it to you throughout the evolution chart where some Elohim, or they call it Elohim, some God reversed the genetics and boom, came out man. That's what we did. That was the kindness of our souls, of our hearts, giving them a second chance to discover the God within themselves because Zeus gave them 1% of our DEA, which is his blood. So they're able to tap into that, but they also have majority animal DNA, which is wolf, lemur, pig, and sun-nosed monkey, and 1% of what you call neuromelanin, carbon, ether, DEA. They have DNA, we have DEA, deoxyetheric acid. So with that being known, this is the shift that is happening right now as we speak. This planet is coming back to its creators, which is why you see a whole bunch of what you call spiritual people like talking about a ship or talking about the 3D to the 5D. We are already in the 5D. This is 5D information I'm giving to this platform right now. And it's not that I'm holding it and I'm gatekeeping it. No, this is something you can access within yourself. You can tap into yourself. You can meditate. You can talk to your ancestors. You can do everything you need to do for yourself to tap into this information. The media, the scientists, anybody outside of you is not going to tell you what you need to hear because they need to keep this illusion alive as long as possible. Your attention is what feeds this world. But if you don't feed your own world, you will not be able to create your own reality. And I'll land there. Thank you, love.
Okay, gratitude for sharing that. But I that's that right there. I just explained that Inky and Enlil, Zeus, Jesus, God, the devil, Pindar, Moloch, the Dragon King, all of it is the same story. Talking about an entity that was splicing on this planet. And I just said that the entity would not have been so-called black. So at one point you said that our DNA doesn't express to be animalistic and to be one with nature. And then you said that the first so-called black man ever created was splicing when he doesn't have the genetic expression to do that. The animals that you named have introgress genes, so it couldn't have been spliced from the animals that were already here because all of those cells link us back to in vitro. It doesn't come from prokaryotic life like those specific animals that you named. So that story is heavily talked about from Rashad Jamal, which there's no science in anything that he's discussing. Them having 1% of our deoxyetheric acid literally makes no sense because the deoxyetheric acid is the neuromelanin. So the neuromelanin is the only biochemical substance that is condensed sunlight, and it can also condense sunlight in its nature. So the only way that we can splice or cut into cells is using light or electroporation or magnetofection or cell sonication or sonoporation. You can't do that with our cells because our cells are literally coated in light. You can't splice light with light because it would just absorb itself like a black hole. So the splicing of our DNA has never been done. No entity, no scientist on this planet has ever been able to splice a cell that is linked to us. I have 2 scientists on my page. John Biggerstaff literally talks about how our neuromelanin literally would not allow for any type of cutting, splicing, hybridization, or anything of the sort. So that's why I said when we start using science and sitting down with it, we can structure our thoughts. We can see what's true and what's not. The same processes will continue to happen on this planet unless something unnatural takes place to it, right? It would not. We do not have the genetic expression to splice. So the entity that is being depicted, that is splicing, is not a black man or a black woman. When y'all are saying that, y'all are trying to say that so-called black women created this abomination because you're saying that we created you. We don't have the genetic expression to do so, right? So prokaryotic entity has a different intelligence than we do, but that doesn't make him us just because his cells function like prokaryotic cells. Bees are prokaryotic, lions are prokaryotic, but we're not lions and we're not bees. So just because we create something doesn't mean that we're liable for this organism having its own thought process, being able to carry out these actions, right? Rashad Jamal is not somebody that I would consider to be credible or factual because he does not use science. He only used Wikipedia like 3 times, and you can go on Wikipedia to literally edit before you go live, right? Which is why I think that's the main reason why I think he would always be like, oh, I was late, or my bad, I was waiting for the right energy. You was probably on Wikipedia editing that shit, waiting for it to get cleared. I don't subscribe to nothing that Rashad Jamal really, like 70 to 80% of what he said was false. The brother spoke truth. I'm not discrediting everything that he said, but when it comes to us and them, that was the biggest shit. You see what I'm saying? Rashad Jamal is a Freemason. So I don't talk about that brother like that because he was literally working with them. His manager is YT. You see what I'm saying? Him being behind bars right now, that whole story, him touching a child, that's like, I wouldn't be listening to nobody that had allegations of touching a child, whether it was true or not. I just wouldn't involve myself with it. That's why I talk about knowledge of self, right? I wasn't there, so I can't speak on it, but I know that everything he did say, vast majority of it was false. I got you with that. Thank you for sharing that, though. I'm not discrediting everything that you said, but some of the things that you said weren't biogenetically, like, don't align with biogenetic truth. That's what I will say. Bernice Baker 78. I see you've been waiting patiently. Go ahead and tell me why you requested up. Bernice Baker, did you mean to come up? You're on mute. Bernice Baker 78. I got you. All right, so I think the sister that was just in the request, oh, my bad, TT, I see you up there. Go ahead. TT, what's the name? TT 212560. Did you mean to request up? You're on mute. 1, 2, 3. All right. So
May I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Do you trust the knowledge that you get without looking outside of you?
I look within first, and then I receive downloads from the universe. I literally align myself with truth, and that's how I literally came about genetics, prokaryotes and eukaryotes. I don't rely on any source of information outside of myself. I literally look within, and when I come across information, I use my discernment and my intuition, but more importantly, it must align with universal law.
Do you understand that you're getting that information from yourself?
Yes.
So I'm not discrediting you or coming against you or anything like that. I'm just asking questions. To say you get it from the universe I'm not saying you're saying that to say you get it from anywhere else, but you're getting it from the memory within your body that's already here. You already to this what you said about Rashad Jamal. It didn't strike me, but it raised it raised a red flag in my mind, because to understand one another, you would understand he was coming from a place of alignment, from a place of truth. You can't sit there and look at him and say he was anything other than what he was actually is. To see that and to see him and actually say that he was something other than what he was, there's some denial in your perspective when it comes to looking at him.
Yeah,
Because
that's not what I said. I said that the vast majority of the things that he was saying didn't align with universal law, and that he used Wikipedia, which is a source outside of himself, right? So that's what I actually said. I didn't discredit what he said. I said that the vast majority of the things that he did say did not align with universal law. I understand that the memory is neuromelanin, which is what I was explaining. It would not our genetics were never expressed to do the things that you just said in the story, especially when you're talking about a standpoint when we were taking in more interstellar gases and nanodiamonds, when we were greater in size. Our genes would have definitely not expressed that way because we weren't greater in size and giants
Well,
as
look at the
being
mountains
copper
that are
colored. All right,
literally tree
let me
stumps.
fully respond to you, please. We weren't copper colored in that state. We fell to the state that we're in.
So in order to fall into a state, that means we're a bigger state, right?
That's what I just said. Yes.
So in order, like what you just said, basically we weren't able to be as who we were when I was stating about being giants and being in that higher state. It really was about perspective of self. You can speak about all the genetics and have the terminology pinpoint down to a T. But when it comes to seeing ourselves, how we were, what we were before, it's about the perspective, how you see yourself. Do you see yourself as all, or do you see yourself as an individual? That's the part a lot of people plateau at, is where they see themselves as an individual within the whole. When you are everything, including like I am you and you are me, there is no separation from that. I only have my own perspective of my own reality. I'm not going to force you to see how I see it. I just love sharing what I see. Now, you don't have to, like, I'm never going to say you got to agree with me or you got to follow me, none of that. I'd rather connect with you and we can build off of that connection.
Is
And
your reality like from what you conceive, or is it from what others can collaboration of what you conceived from others?
so my reality is based off what I've seen and what I've experienced about my entire being here and what I've experienced before being here. It doesn't have
But you're
nothing
a
to do
big
with anybody
Rashid.
else.
But you're a big Rashid believer.
I'm not a believer. I just know I'm a creator. I'm not a believer. I don't need to believe anything. Believe is believing in a lie. When you know something, you don't have to believe it. Belief is the absence of knowing.
Well,
So
I'll be honest with you. Go
knowing
ahead.
is the knowledge of self that comes from within. You do pull from the universe with that. You are created by the universe. That's what we're talking about with prokaryotic cells, starting off as atoms, vibrating at a speed to turn into molecules, vibrating at the next speed to turn into tissues, which create the cells. We're literally the universe's manifestation.
We
So
are the
all I have
universe
to do
walking in
is
flesh.
type in. I got you. All you have to do is tap into your neuromelanin to pull from the universe, because that's the morphic resonance that is the field around our bodies and the field that is around the cells. So I'm not. I got what you're saying and your base premise. Does anybody in the chat or on the panel want to discuss evolution and it being the biggest lie ever told?
Um, yeah.
Queen,
So
I'm a hop down, but I joined you now. I follow you. I'll come back later tonight or something if you're still on. But I like this panel a lot. You're a very smart woman, so keep the good work. And you got a new follower. I'm gonna drop down though, so I can go to work.
Gratitude, gratitude for sharing that in your kind words. Yeah. Everything that I told y'all on the panel came from my own mind. I pieced this information together by studying. This is years worth of, you know what I'm saying, me sitting down with the universe, right? With me sitting down and observing how she moves, how her womb functions, how the universe, how stars come into existence, the things that are mimicked with us in our cells, as above, so below is universal law. And like my other half said in the comments, science is explaining the natural world. So we got to actually look at what nature is doing and we can pinpoint what's natural and what's not, right? When we're talking about you, like no shade to that brother, but you could have came in here and told me things from your brain, from your, you know what I'm saying, from your studying, from you sitting down with the universe, but you told me about what another man said. That kind of goes against, it kind of contradicts what you're saying with having knowledge of self when everything that you said was regurgitated from someone else. You've never heard anyone on the internet break down introgression, genetic engineering, evolution, all branches of science, climatology, genetic engineering, synthetic biology. You've never heard anyone piece together all branches of science like me, like my other half. You've never heard anybody break down neuroscience and directly connect it to tectonic processes or biogenetic processes or spontaneous generation. That's because it came directly from our mind. And we've been talking to kinesiologists, evolutionary biologists, different doctors for 4 years, and we haven't been debunked. That's because of knowledge of self, sitting down with the universe. When you study her, it's no way you can debunk her. Ether is everywhere, ubiquitous, amorphous, right? That's what the scientists are saying about our DNA. Why Darkness Matters is written by 4 BOK neuroscientists. They refer to our neurons, our neuromelanin, the substantia nigra, every portion of our brain as being amorphous and ubiquitous. This is the explanation behind how we're actually 9 etheric beings, because ether is everywhere and we're the only people that are composed on this planet of atoms, right? So this atom that is over here is directly connected to another particle in this universe. That's quantum entanglement right there. We don't have to, you know what I'm saying, do the rigmarole, or no, we can just, whatever they're calling it is whatever they're calling it. They can call your heart a foot. That doesn't change the functionality. Science explains the functionality of things. We got to sit down with it, because if we don't, who's passing the truth to the next generation? Who's doing that? Who's going to pass the truth to the next generation if we just keep regurgitating shit and being piss poor, right? We can't talk about neuromelanin and then not tap into it, right? You know what I'm saying? We got to be able to explain that this is what makes us who we are. This is what connects us not only to this planet, but to all planets, to all stars, to everything in the universe, to the next universe, to the multiverse, to the galaxies. It like Sagittarius star system, Leo star system. You're directly connected to it. There's no such thing as I'm a Leo, even though I am, you know what I'm saying? Because when I look at all the stars, how they come into existence, how they function, how they pass light to the next celestial being, they do it the same way we do on a biological level, right? So we got to just, Soul, you can just come up. You feel me? I see y'all in the request. Hold on. Let's see what Carlos is talking about. Soul, you can just come up. If I'm wrong, please debunk me. It's been 4 years. What is neuromelanin? You told me that you're in the comments telling me that I'm wrong, but you don't know what neuromelanin is, but you're saying you're the same as me? Yikes. Yikes. You see what I'm saying? Yikes. All right. You're saying you're the same as me, but you're asking about neuromelanin. These people, man. Go ahead, gardening. Gardening, did you mean to come up?
Oh, hell no, I'm good.
Okay, my bad.
My bad.
Yeah, y'all can just, you know what I'm saying? Feel free to request up. We don't have to do name calling and the back and forth and the, what's the name? You see what I'm saying? Facts, educator.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
You brought up 9 ether, and that word has been passing through my head for the past 2 weeks, and I'm trying to figure out what it means and how can I apply it. And that's amazing you brought it up.
So first thing you should do, study ether. Like literally just sit down with it. Go to YouTube, type in a documentary, ether. You'll sometimes even see it spelled like this. I'm going to put it both ways for you in case you see it in a book or you come across, you're like, what the fuck is that? It's the same thing. They just spell it different ways. God damn, it won't even let me type it. There we go. Right there. So ether is everywhere. It is the literal fabric of the universe, right? Atomic particles, subatomic and atomic particles that are found in everything. When we talk about the significance of 9 or the Fibonacci sequence, everything is completed and comes into fruition in the symbology of 9. That's why these people, when we look at their genetics, you hear about 6 ether, or even 3 ether. Some of these people, hair don't grow from the 6 spiral. They just be having a straight ass line. 3, you know what I'm saying? It talks about the creation. You see what I'm saying? I'm kind of losing my words with this because I've been talking for a minute, but what did I leave off?
I'm tracking.
Yeah, I would say study the Fibonacci sequence, and that's going to help you actually understand ether and etheric expression. Morphic resonance is also the explanation of ether. Protons, electrons, photons, etheric particles. How they actually bind together, how they express subatomically, molecules. I would just everything pertaining to the universe should be studied to actually understand the universe.
So the universe is trying to get me to evolve. I mean, whatever. So that's why I'm hearing this word.
Yeah, for sure. The Earth's resonance is literally increasing. They're calling the El Nino a super El Nino now. El Nino,
Yeah.
the sun. You see what I'm saying? The sun is sending out what is known as coronal mass ejections, or CMEs, also known as solar prominences. It looks just like whenever a man would so-called ejaculate in a woman. F1 in the chat. You see this, that E word that I just said. That looks just like a solar prominence or a coronal mass ejaculation. It's the same thing, as above, so below. And what it does is the radiation is that we're seeing that's been ground level for the last 11 years has been hitting our DNA and theirs. So it's literally waking you up. That DEA that Noette was in here talking about, the neuromelanin is what's being powered up because it's condensed sunlight. So that's why we should be in the sun, because our skin cells have neuromelanin on them. Our brain cells, aka neurons, are coated in neuromelanin. So this is the reason why we're sun people and why we're connected to the sun, because our DNA is literally liquid sunlight.
That's good to know.
Yeah, and like educator said, it's deleting their unnatural cells, removing the nucleoid, or excuse me, the nucleus region, which is what's causing the photocarcinogenesis. We're seeing the mutations amp up, like 1p36, 2q32, SLOS phenotype. That's why they're eating off the streets. That's why a lot of them are getting erratic. You seeing the teachers are having smecks with the children. You're seeing the men, a lot more men are starting to just come out, or YT men starting to come out and be very blatant about the way they feel about children and trafficking them and wanting to do weird shit to them. Because again, it's genetic expression. It's their genes literally expressing on a phenotypical level. So you're going to start seeing them get erratic. You're going to start seeing more fights, more brawls, more of these people taking themselves out because of incomplete dominance. They're one person, 50% retrotransposers and transposons can, you know what I'm saying? He can literally be thinking like a rabbit. 10 minutes later, he could be thinking like a pig. And I'm dead ass when I say that. I'm so for real when I say that. Y'all got to sit down and look at some of the brain scans. You see what I'm saying? Look at what portions of their brain actually lights up when they're tested in certain situations, and how that also happens within a pig or within a cow or within a dog, and how they, what portions of their brain lights up whenever that same thing happens to that organism. Right? So that's what I'm talking about with that. Let me see if this person meant to request that. Irk, you could just come up here and you could just tell us. You see what I'm saying? Go ahead, King Mufasa. Did you mean to request up?
Oh no, I sure didn't. Go ahead. I'm listening. I'm learning.
Okay, my bad. Gratitude. They are not just monkeys, y'all. They're a conglomeration of all like unnatural life. Unnatural life. You see what I'm saying? Monkey, cow, pig, dog, fruit fly, banana, celery, everything that is eukaryotic and is a byproduct of genetic engineering and introgression is within their genome. 25 to 30,000 genes. See what I'm saying? Trying to communicate through one nucleus. That's why these people will smile in your face and go right in their house and call the police. Too many different animals, too many different unnatural life trying to think in one suit.
That's crazy work, man. That's crazy work. I mean, exposing the truth to us, you know, like this, it's like, man, it's crazy. Like, I'm just hearing this for the first time.
Yeah, I would study this, like literally for the rest of the day. Really look at these documentaries on genetic engineering. Jennifer Doudna is another person you want to look into, because she's the face of CRISPR-Cas9, which is the tech that they use to splice cells. But beyond CRISPR, they've created something called Stitcher, where CRISPR was kind of keeping them limited on how they could actually go in and modify the genome. But now they're on to something that is a lot more broad, called Stitcher. I'm going to spell it out for you in the chat. You have CRISPR, which is a palindrome, by the way, meaning that when you spell it forwards and backwards, it will still be the same word. You have CRISPR-Cas9. Protein 9 is what cuts and splices into the cell. And then you have what is called Stitcher. Let me spell that out. Study those two things and what they're saying about the human genome, how it can be modified, which animals and who they use. Right? You'll never see in a synthetic biological documentary or an evolutionary documentary or genetic engineering documentary, you'll never see us in it. They're always going to show you YT people, Asian people splicing their own DNA. So let me show y'all some examples of that, because I have that too, like from even in my own research. Like, you see what I'm saying? Let me go to the genetic engineering tab. Like, you see what I'm saying? This man right here literally introgressed his own DNA with pigs. And I'm going to show you what the cell looked like after he did it. That's scientist Pablo Ross. I'm going to...
He doesn't look that smart to me. He looks more crazy.
Yeah, a lot of them look crazy as hell. You see what I'm saying? Pablo Ross, he's went to the University of California. You see what I'm saying? He's a genetic engineer, and he introgressed his DNA with a pig's. Why would your brain tell you to do something like that? You know what I'm saying? So you can see here in the right corner, right there, in the bottom, that's a cell that hasn't been infiltrated, right? After he added the pig DNA, that's what the cell looks like above it. You see what I'm saying? After he introgressed his own DNA with the cell, this is how it became distorted. Imagine what happens when we procreate with them on a biological level.
It looks like slime inside that cell.
Yeah. You see what I'm saying? And then we also have this man. This man right here, you will see him quoted in some of the genetic engineering documentaries, because he is cited as the first person to ever perform genetic engineering on live stream in his home. All right. So this man, what he's doing is he's literally injecting himself with frog DNA. All right. He's doing this in his home. You can see the screen right there. He's doing this on live stream. So he gets he gets a lot of clout for trying this in his home. None of our people across the globe are doing this shit. Gene expression. You see what I'm saying? Our genes don't express, our behavior doesn't express like these other people, right? This man right here is responsible for creating a 3-parent baby. He's holding the baby right there. All right. It is illegal here, and it's illegal in a lot of countries, but it's not legal in certain countries, and that's where they go to do this at. He wasn't in the U.S. Doing that. He was like somewhere in England, I believe. What were you saying?
We couldn't see the baby if you wanted us to.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of cut off, but right now I'm showing you the scientist. Here's a picture of the baby, because they never show you the baby's face. I really think that that's because of some sort of some sort of mutation probably is going on. But
yeah, I can sense some abnormality going on in that baby.
Yeah, they'll never show it. See, here's him right. They had it blurred out in the last one I showed you and this one. But this is a news article where on the right and the left, it breaks down all the science, the ethics, the morality, all the talk around it. And he created this baby in vitro. You see right under that where you put like RBCs, test tubes and stuff like that in that bank that's behind his head. Right under that is an incubator where they grew the baby. You see what I'm saying? Right under that is where that is. So he's holding a child that had, I think it was 2 mothers and a father, like 2 ovum cells and 1 so-called like masculine, you know what I'm saying, like person, like a man that was involved. And I really think, if I remember correctly, that chicken DNA was involved in this. One of the parents, the mothers, one of the mothers of this child had like high percentages of her genetics shared with chicken. So, yeah, their entity created them, and this is why they express their genes to do it. Here's where they're putting the child in the, you know what I'm saying, in the thing for it to grow. See what I'm saying? That's a scientist that works under the one I just showed you. Yeah.
Very unsettling.
Yeah, it's pretty unsettling for sure. But yeah, genetic engineering, y'all, is not something that is natural to this planet. So what we are hearing these people say is, oh, well, evolution doesn't have to be natural. Okay, so then you're not natural then. That's why I like talking to people that's like in England. I go live at different times because certain information is suppressed here that's not suppressed over there. They're very big on evolution in England. They are here too, but over there for real, that's why I be going live at night, overnight, like when it's 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m. here. I like talking to them because they will tell you out of their mouth that they're not natural. And then they'll try to tell you in the same breath that we're the same. So it's a very interesting, you know what I'm saying, conversation. I am working on putting out a 5-hour live, like the one where we had a lot of people in here. It's like 300 people, 300 guests. That one has a lot of sources in it. I took my time. It's taken me like 5 days to put every single source on the board for y'all. So that's what's taking me a while to get the lives put on YouTube. Use it for research purposes because I have a 5-point, like a 5-point slideshow that breaks down the morphic resonance in that live, like in that video I'll be posting. So when Zell will be here later, I have to actually, no, I already did. I already airdropped him the live. So I should get that posted here pretty soon. Like in the next hour or so, I should be putting that out for y'all. You will see the sources on them taking the graft of 2 Neanderthal skulls and creating 10 clones in '07. That's in there. My YouTube is linked in my bio. You can click that. It'll take you straight there. And all I do is pretty much just post the lives on there. This live that I'm going to be posting in the lives going forward will have more evidence, will have more sources, because I understand that more people are just struggling with trying to connect every dot that me and Zell do. So I'm going to show you the thought process. There'll be text on the screen, help you follow along. So that's what I'll be getting out. Yep. My other half typed the YouTube, and if you tap his page, his YouTube is in his thing. If you've watched all the videos on my page, then go to his page because we don't have the same lives. All right. Oh, you have it. Bet. Yeah, Lala said that's great. Yes, I know that's going to help y'all based off of the questions that y'all asked me. I know it's going to really help y'all. Gratitude, my sister. Gratitude, baby G. You're just as intelligent as me. We're the same. Electrons, atomic level. You see what I'm saying? Divine creators of life. Right. All right, somebody said they had a question. Who is that? Rage Grinch. Here, you can accept that and come back up and ask whatever question you have.
Yeah, gratitude. So I was listening to you go in about the experiments with the 3-parent baby, right? And I was wondering if you have any commentary. I read an article about a month ago about Chinese billionaires basically coming to the U.S., which so because it's illegal there, but it's China and another so-called country, not sure which, but they have been coming to the U.S. basically to have what do you call it, in vitro babies, right? So it was basically he had maybe like 30 different surrogate mothers or something like that. So I'm wondering what's your thoughts, because I'm asking, and if you're asking for why am I asking is I'm wondering about your ethical perspective on that sort of, in my eyes, exploitation.
Like, just to make sure that I understand your question correctly, you're saying it's illegal here, but you're mentioning how I mentioned how it's legal in other countries and how I feel about the ethics and the morality behind that.
No, it's illegal there. So what I'm saying is because I'm more so kind of ringing the alarm if you can't sense that, right? But I'm just saying that there are billionaires coming from other countries where it's illegal there. So you have a wealthy class of people that are using basically less economically viable mothers, right, to use as a test for an in vitro fertilization, right? Maybe sometimes it's so. But there's a Chinese billionaire. I think they said he has come over here, and you know it's not being publicized. But I mean, this person probably has had, like, I want to say at least 30 children just by that.
Yeah, that's true. These other women in these other countries, they do get experimented on. Man, what was I actually researching the other day? Yeah.
I'm talking
Female.
about here in the U.S. I'm talking about here in the U.S.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm saying is that these other women get experimented on all the time.
Right.
Yeah, they have the
Right.
cells that can be spliced. They're using our stem cells, our adrenochrome, to power up the tech that they're using. And what's my source for that? Understanding the biochemical composition of what we're made of and what they're using to make orgone energy accumulators, black body radiators, all these things that they use in these science experiments to do this. So when it comes to ethics and morality, they will leave this country and team up with the Swedish or team up with the Dutch or the Finnish where it is allowed there. And that is something that I left in one of the sources on the YouTube I'll be posting later today or tomorrow, where it lists out the different countries that were involved in making the creation of those 10 clones in '07. These people work together across all countries. But when it comes to ethics and morality, that links back to hedonism and humorism and what is it? Yeah, ethics and morality comes from that. So that's really basically them taking their approach to life is pleasure and the absence of pleasure. So they deem what is ethical from what they get off to. Right. And then they try to push it on the rest of the masses. Like, should we be doing this? And when they're doing it, it's just
Let me be
psychological.
right. Let me just add, right. Like, let me be very clear. I don't support IVF in any way, shape, or form. Like, I don't believe in it whatsoever. Right. But I was just kind of exposing the fact that you have people that are basically using the fact that they're wealthy and they're just, you know, the fact that they have money to basically just use the body of a person to try and bring another soul, which it's interesting. But based on the information that you're saying, I do understand kind of like the metaphysical implications of different physical life forms. So if people are being basically manifested, right? If you look at it that way, like in a science, that type of science is essentially trying to manifest something. And when you're bringing a soul into reality under those kinds of conditions, really, you're initiating a form of life that is not what we would consider to be ethical in certain ways. But it's just kind of appalling that you have people like this that are just on a mission to try to just create as many children as possible. They don't care, the method, the way that's the part that I'm trying to kind of point out. Hopefully people understand that, because, you know what I'm saying, when you got somebody that's basically just leaving a sample and trying to distribute it amongst as many people as possible, you know what I'm saying?
Those older matches of